The very beginning of these courts began from around 2007. We knew what we had was inadequate. So I immediately called Warner. So we got together and got the plan of, well, let's organize. Let's get a big group and let's approach the board and let's try to get something built. And we had an organizational meeting to try to expand our CTA to get more people involved. And we had like about 200 come to that meeting at our community house.
I was tennis coach for New Albany High School. Started in 2007, and we had 4 courts over at the middle school, and it just wasn't working. Our program, our tennis program, our youth program they were growing, and we couldn't accommodate all of our players.
It's continued in the community, and we've always had a really strong tennis community. Having grown up in that, it's always been a passion of mine to see New Albany tennis succeed. And yes, Warner mentioned we only had 4 courts, and at the time we were falling behind compared to other places in North Mississippi. So yes, there was a great need and there was a great passion. At the same time, we were going through a recession.
That's right.
That had just started, and it affected several businesses, including mine, which freed up time for me. So yeah, I was able to devote much more time than probably I should have or could have, but that's one of the benefits of the recession that we had.
We started out going to the city council, and as Brad spoke to the fact that our presentation involved not only a quality of life, but an economic impact, because, you know, revenue speaks to everybody, and that was something that they had to consider and think about. And so we could show them a way to enhance their revenue producing through tourism and that sort of thing. And it really was something that it went very well through the city council at that time.
So it was a unique way to kind of drive, I think, an economic development also, you know, which is a win for everybody, right? That's kind of think that's how we presented it. It was not just a win for the people that had interest in tennis, but it was a win for the community. It was a win for a way to attract people and a way to also provide a quality of life too. Is kind of what was always what our thought was.
I mean, we believed in the project, and if we built it, we knew they would come. You know.
You had people that were kind of driving it, had a passion for it. And when you have a passion for something, you really, I mean, you don't give up on it. And so you had a core group that had a passion for it, but also that vision, right? And it was a unique, still to this date, if you think about it, it was unique because it was a mix of government, private businesses, and just individuals that donated and, you know, pulled resources together, not just financially, but just time and effort.
And I knew with this group that was involved, they would not expect anything less than the best at the time for New Albany, and wanted to be a leader in Mississippi. And that's with their vision, their support, that's what we were able to accomplish.
Me thinking about when it first opened, well, let me go back a little bit further, maybe a month or 2 before it actually opened. I was working with the middle school program, and we had 2 periods then, and we had enough time one day to walk all the way over here from middle school to let them see our facility. This is where you're going to play. This is where we're going to practice. You know, I mean, preached it. And it was just unbelievable for those students to see what they were going to experience when they got to practice and play out here.
When we went to the board as a group, that it was just a great idea, but we would have to get somebody, we would have to pay for half of that. We would have to get sponsor. And I don't think they thought that that was going to happen. I mean, they just didn't think it was possible. And so we didn't know if we were going to have a bake sale or just what kind of thing we could raise that amount of money, what businesses. But we were optimistic.
We knew we had a real project when we were able to go in front of the BNA Bank Board and present our vision. And they were receptive, and when a week later when they said, we're in, we knew then that there was no stopping this project.
When we did get the building started, and we knew we were going to have this, and we saw how beautiful it was going to be, we approached the board that they would really need a full-time person out here to protect it, to run programs, to coordinate. So I can recall first calling Jamie and Brad had played in a tournament on the coast and had seen the Bowmans and said, oh, please get the Bowmans. And I thought, well, yeah. And then Bill Rennick, who is Susie's dad, knew we were looking. Oh, you need to get my daughter and her husband. They would be the best. So my first call was to him after a long day of his teaching, and he wasn't interested because there wasn't any money. So we went back and we were working on, can we get him some money? Well, yes, maybe. So we're just trying to figure this out. Nobody had ever done this. And the board really was, and the mayor, they really were trying to work with us on this. So when we got them to say they would pay a certain amount, I don't recall what that first amount was, not important, but they agreed on an amount. So I called him back, well, we have an amount that you can be paid plus, and come up for an interview. And he did, and he got hired.
It was such a joy for me to be part of that process. And it was also so rewarding to see these kids respond. The whole town cares about New Albany tennis. The four courts, but as small as it was, we closed off the street and it became a street party. And every match, the streets were packed with people. And then to see, for those children, those players to see, one, people showing up, and then two, all of a sudden, banks, people are putting money, people are investing time in courts, which will become our future home. You know, it was just fun. And then they responded by winning state championship after state championship after state championship. And it's just that synergy, one being the husband of a tennis coach, and then being part of the building process and designing process is really, really fun. And a lot of synergy was created with the whole group because of that. Because we really were able to sell with part of the vision. Look what we've done with 4 courts. Imagine what we can do with 10 or 16.
Gregory was a little younger than John David. I think we decided it was 8 and 5 years old. And Gregory had, of course, an open heart surgery and wasn't allowed to play any contact sports. So basketball was out, really baseball was out, and football was out. And so we began looking around for an opportunity for Gregory to be able to play a sport, to be part of a team, to be part of a group, and this is what this became. You know, tennis became for Gregory his outlet for athletics, and John David got involved. You know, John David was a baseball player, you know, as he was really young, and once he came out here and started playing, he realized he loved it and continued to come, and here we are now at 14 and 17, still playing.
So if it weren't for this facility in our community and the pro who is programming it, there's no way Everett would be having the type of success in tennis that he's having. First of all, without a pro, it's just a bunch of pretty concrete. There's so many things about this sport that have to be taught. You don't just vicariously pick them up because you play.
With a pro here at our courts, you know, that was paramount to John David and Gregory, you know, progressing in their game. Gregory, when we first dropped him off, didn't know what a tennis racket was, and has become a good tennis player. John David had never really played tennis before, other than hitting a tennis ball maybe in the backyard with a Walmart tennis racket, and has become a starter on the you know, on the high school team. So without Bo being here, without a pro being here, it would have been impossible for my kids to reach the levels that they've reached at this point.
So to the 5 people who made this facility happen, I'd like to say thank you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your non-stop work to see it all the way through. Because of you, my son loves a sport that we never would have introduced him to, and you know, it's been wonderful for our entire family. So thank you.